So the next person we have on is Sayer G. He's a member of the Disinformation Dozen, as was Bobby Kennedy and many other sort of freedom fighters and health warriors. It's been an incredible badge of honor to be part of that group. And he's one of the toughest and most steadfast MAHA warriors who's been really great at putting progress into context. So great to have you on once again.
Thanks so much, Tony. You know, the thing about MAHA that is so inspiring is that we are looking at root cause resolution of conditions that affect the majority of Americans today. And ECT is one of those interventions, and that's a euphemism, that is so disturbing that when you actually look at the mechanism of action, if you were to use the 450 volt, 800 to 900 milliamps in the heart, you need about 1/4 to 1/9 the dose in order to kill someone. So the fact that you're using a technology to essentially electrocute someone to induce a grand mal seizure is really quite barbaric and quite horrific. So when Dr. Berg and I went into this topic and we spoke with those who had actually experienced it, it was so disturbing because most of those who suffer this so-called intervention end up with permanent brain damage. And unfortunately, as we know through a lot of pharmaceutical interventions, sometimes the primary adverse effect is actually repackaged as the therapeutic effect. In other words, a drug could make you sleepy, right? Because it's damaging some part of your body. So we'll just, say that this is an insomnia medication. In this case, it is so egregious because essentially what we're dealing with here by the numbers, okay, is that there are 100,000 plus Americans that are electroshocked annually. Okay, we're not going to use the euphemism electroconvulsive therapy. It's similar to using the term immunization to imply that vaccination equates to bona fide immunity and is safe and effective. It's sort of a semantic trick. Essentially, what's happening today is children as young as 5 years of age are being given this so-called intervention. And keep in mind, the only difference between these devices being deployed for torture, which is actually happening in China, the same two manufacturers in the US that are selling these devices, for an industry that's about $500 million annually, up to $2,500 a so-called treatment. They're also selling those exact devices to China for torture. So if you remove informed choice, which is a huge theme that we've all experienced in the past 5 years, you're actually violating informed medical choice. And that's the case here because just like we learned with vaccines where the emperor wears no clothes, there are no saline placebo-controlled trials that are presently used to establish the safety and efficacy of our vaccine schedule. So we've learned a lot as a nation regarding the medical gaslighting that goes on. When you start to really understand what's happening with ECT, when relapse rates are 84%, for example, 40 plus years that the FDA has refused to certify safety, this is a low-hanging fruit. This is an example where if we use the gold standard science that, of course, RFK Jr. and the incredible leadership we have with HHS today is now, saying we are going to hold ourselves to this, standard. There's just no way that we can continue forward. So what is happening essentially is we have a broad-based campaign. It's a coalition, which includes a ton of people that are looking to help ban ECT and to contact our elected officials. You go to stopect.com. For those who weren't able to be on the live stream, there will be an email that is sent that will give you the details of how to take action. This is something that as a country, we need to stand up for the health and well-being of our especially vulnerable populations, our children, those who have serious, spiritual and so-called mental diseases that are being preyed upon through an industry that has never followed the most basic principles of informed medical consent. So thanks again, and thank you to the MAHA community for allowing this important advocacy to finally be spoken to.
Thanks so much, Sayer. Yeah, those are really critical points, and it's always great to have your perspective.